Group 10 Masters, Part 5, Expanding Our Consciousness from Human to Soul to Spirit, video by Dr. Lisa Love. And this is the final video from the book Letters in Occult Meditation, where we are going through the basic definition of masters. And we start out with uses words of power. A master of the wisdom is he who has entrusted to him, by virtue of work accomplished, certain words of power. By means of these words he wields the law over other evolutions than the human, and through them he cooperates with the activity aspect of the logos. Thus he blends his consciousness with that of the third logos. Through these words he assists with the building work and the cohesive manipulating endeavor of the second logos, and comprehends the inner working of the law of gravitation, or attraction and repulsion, that governs all the functions of the second aspect, logoic. So, I've said in every video, don't get tripped up by the male pronoun he. This is written in 1920. Everybody back then used the male pronouns, and to be true to the books, I'm just keeping the quote as it is. But let's take a look at this. So we have this idea of words of power. If you remember, if you've been following this series, Group 7 probationary disciples are having to train in knowing how to keep quiet, in learning the use of speech, right and wrong speech. Why? Because they don't want to stir up wrong effects in the world of Maya, the world of the five senses. So language and speech, what you say, become very important. You even have to start to learn the rudiments of what you think, monitoring and watching what you think, discovering what you think, and learning how to eventually, as you become Group 8 and especially Group 9, as you're doing soul magic, or white magic as the Bailey books call it, I prefer to call it soul magic, you have to learn how to not only monitor your thoughts, but select which thoughts you want to think. So imagine having to do all that. But why is that important? Let's come back to the words of power. It's important because, especially when a master speaks, there is tremendous power in that word or sound. Because the master is working with evolutions other than the human. The master is able to work with the devas, or the angelic realms, or the jinn as they're called, those subtle forces. Now, they're nothing like what most people imagine them to be like here in our popular folklore and movies, etc., etc. But a master knows what they are truly like, and a master is able to manipulate that matter so that it becomes something. When we're talking about the third logos here, we're talking about being able to manifest something. The Holy Ghost, the Fohat, the divine intelligence, differentiated forms. And then it's going to work with the second, and as we finish this quote in the next slide, it's going to work with the first here. But the master starts with the third, then the second, then the first. Let's take a break for a moment and look at what are these things, these first, third, and first, second, and third logos that we're talking about here. Well, let's go down here. Here is our planetary hierarchy of the Earth scheme. This is our Earth and its evolution. And here are those masters working with different groups. And then below them, they work with the initiates, disciples, and the probationers here. And the masters, we learned in the previous video, are attempting to understand beyond the periphery of our Earth as they go into the solar system. This is the hierarchy of the solar system up here. And they're even starting to move beyond that. In the previous video, we talked about moving to Sirius, etc. So the master is working with the solar system and the overall planet. Here is the initial spark of our Earth, which starts by manifesting into a 1, 2, and 3. Some say that is like Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit. But that is the logos within our planet. We also have that up here in the solar system, which is known not only as Brahma or the Brahman here, but the Para-Brahman up here. So a master knows how to work with the third, second, and first logos within our planet to create certain results, and is learning also how to do that reaching up into our solar system here. And what is the reason for that? The master, along with his group of initiates primarily, is working to build something that manifests in our planet according to the plan, according to the beneficial evolution of our Earth, and also our Earth within the solar system. So the master is increasingly comprehending the plans, the desire of our solar system, as well as our Earth, and is using words of power to coordinate that. The second logos helps the master comprehend it. The third logos helps the master manifest it. And now we're going to go to the next slide here. Through these words, he cooperates with the work of the first logos. So now we have the first logos, and learns as he takes the sixth and seventh initiations, which is not always done, the meaning of will as applied in the system, referring to solar system here. These words of power are imparted orally and through clairvoyant faculty, but must be found by the initiate himself by the use of Atma, and he attains Atmic consciousness. When Atmic consciousness is developing by means of the intuition, the initiate can contact the stores of knowledge inherent in the monad and thus learn the words of power. This ability comes only after the application of the rod of initiation as wielded by the Lord of the world. Therefore, by the higher stages of occult meditation does the master of the wisdom increase still further his knowledge. Not static is his consciousness, but daily embracing more. Daily does he apply himself to further expansion. I mean, you probably don't know what most of these words are, so I'm going to try and help you. You're probably completely lost. First of all, it's interesting that instead of being called a master in this quote, he's being called an initiate. The master is that Atmic, Buddhic, monastic consciousness, the spiritual triad. But here we're saying the initiate himself by use of Atma attains Atmic consciousness. Well, that would be what we normally call a master. But if you remember in the previous video, we're following these quotes in order. There was the talk that the master is taking the first initiation on Sirius here. So in a way, if we followed the quotes in order, this is referring back to the fact that the master is an initiate taking the first initiation of Sirius here. But let's just stick with the word master here. I think it'd be less confusing. So, first of all, we have the first and second initiations taken by groups 7 and 8, probationer and accepted disciples, or accepting pledged disciples as well. Initiations 3 and 4 on the plane of the solar angel, where the soul is. The master is a 5th degree initiate who is looking to take the 6th and 7th initiations. Initiations are expansions of consciousness. Now that's not always done because a master is a 5th degree initiate. So a master is using words of power without having to take the 6th and 7th initiation. The 6th initiation is known as the initiation of decision. Decision of what? Of what path the master will go on as he leaves the ring path knot of our earth. There are 7 paths that he will go on. One is the path to Sirius. One is the path of Earth service, which means the master will stay within our Earth sphere as a 7th degree initiate, staying within our Earth sphere to help with the evolution of our Earth. What a sacrifice that would be, because most of humanity is down here, and you're staying when you're really kind of off this chart as a master. Then 6th and 7th is the monadic knowledge that you've learned at the 6th and 7th initiations, and you could move off and out of this planetary life altogether. But some choose to stay. So, kind of going through it again. He cooperates with the first logos, which is the will, purpose, and power of our planet and also our solar system, depending on which logos we're looking at. And if he's taking the 6th and 7th initiations, he's going to learn the meaning of will, not only in our Earth, but our solar system. And he'll get words of power imparted to him orally. Somebody's going to say it orally as well as clairvoyantly, found by the initiate or master himself, by use of Atmic consciousness up here at the very top, getting ready to move into the monad up here. And that's developed by means of intuition, the intuitional plane, Buddhic plane, Atmic plane, and the lower monastic plane here. And so he can contact the stores of knowledge inherent in the monad. Remember, this is all the planet. So this would be at the level of divine love wisdom for our planet. Divine will, purpose, power, love, wisdom, intelligent activity in the Atmic. That's kind of repeated. Will, purpose, power in the Atmic, love, wisdom on the Buddhic, intelligent activity in the monastic. It's kind of lower levels that it comes down here. And this comes about only after the rod of application has been wielded by the Lord of the world. That's our planetary logos here. That then is initiating the master into the monad, which gives the master the words of power for what? To not only expand his consciousness, but to help expand the consciousness of humankind. A member of the hierarchy. A master is a member of the hierarchy. A master of the wisdom is one who has earned the right through similarity of vibration to work with the heads of the hierarchy of this planet, and in conjunction with analogous heads on 2 other planets connected with our chain. When he has taken other initiations, he can contact and work in conjunction with all the 7 planetary logi, and not just the 3 in control of allied chains. The whole system can be embraced by him, and his consciousness has expanded to include the entire objective solar system. I could enumerate still other definitions and further elucidate the matter for you, but that imparted today suffices. So again, a lot of words, probably don't comprehend or understand. First of all, he works with other members of the hierarchy in our planet on the Atmic, Buddhic, higher monastic, triadic plane there, Satchidananda. He works as a master with other masters. But we're also told that he works in conjunction with heads of the hierarchy on 2 other planets. There are other planets in our solar system. And so I do not know which 2 planets they are. It's not given. I'm not a master. All I can say is that there are masters who work not only with the hierarchy in our Earth here, but within the hierarchies of other planets as well here. And maybe what this quote is saying is it's not just our Earth and 2 other planets. It's a master can work with the heads of Mercury and Venus. Another master may work with the heads of Jupiter and Uranus. Another may work with the heads of Saturn and Neptune. I don't know. which way to really interpret it. And when the master has taken other initiations, he can contact and work in conjunction with all 7 of these planetary logi. So a master who's very evolved can work with the heads of the hierarchy in all 7 here, and not just the 3 in control of allied chains. The word chains has to do with the whole idea of chains round globes. Go watch the videos of that in the patreon.com Soul to Spirit archives here. I don't want to get into discussing that whole thing. That's going to take a whole video, and I already have videos on that. But in other words, the whole system can be embraced by the master. The whole system here, working with other heads of the hierarchy, the whole system here, working, if the very evolved master, with the whole system here. More quote. The point reached by a master is high, but only relatively so, and you must not forget that when attained by him, it seems low indeed, for he measures it up with the vista expanding before him, each expansion of consciousness, each step upon the ladder, but opens before the initiate, which is really like talking about a master here, another sphere to be embraced, and another step ahead to be taken. Each initiation, expansion of consciousness, achieved, but reveals still higher ones to be mastered, and never comes the point where the aspirant, be he an average man, an initiate, a master, a Chohan, or a Buddha, can remain in a condition static and is incapable of can remain in a condition static and is incapable of can remain in a condition static and is incapable of future progress. Even the Logos himself aspires, and even the one to whom he aspires reaches up to a greater. This is a concept that many people really struggle with, because we're so used to spiritual traditions saying that a human being reaches enlightenment and like you're done. You've realized everything there is to realize. You're done. But if you dig deeper into the esoteric traditions of Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, and Vedanta, etc., you find that that's not what they say. They say what we are talking about here, that there are always expansions of consciousness, an enlightenment followed by an enlightenment followed by an enlightenment, an initiation followed by an initiation followed by an initiation, always up each step on the ladder, always another sphere to be embraced, another step to be taken, another initiation to be revealed and to be mastered. So here we have the main chart that we've used, which falls primarily into what we're calling here cosmic physical. Here. This is our Earth here within our solar system. Our Earth is said to be the base of the spine, the densest planet here. It's not even said to be a sacred planet. It's so unevolved, our Earth, that it's not even sacred or holy yet. It's a non-sacred planet. And here is the majority of humanity down here. Here's where those group 7 and 8 and 9 are. Group 7 and 8 here, 9 here. Here's the master here. Here's the 7 spirits before the throne within our planet, which have to do with how the 7 rays come into our planet as they come from Sirius. Here's the 3 logos, first, second, and third within our planet. Here we are. But this is only where a master is. A master, as he takes the 6th and 7th initiation, is going to get in touch with the 7 spirits before the throne, talked about in the book of Revelation, or the 7 rays, that will lead him to Sirius, that will lead him into a greater understanding of our solar logos and the other planets that are in our solar logos here. There's that cosmic parabraham, first, second, and third logos at this higher level here. And so the basic point is it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Because the solar logos includes our Earth. This is the picture of our Earth, they actually have taken a photo of our solar system as they got further out. It looks, weirdly enough, like a little human fetus. Not quite like a human fetus, but like a little fetus. They've called it the deflated croissant. I've talked about that in other videos on the Soul to Spirit channel. So imagine, here we are, a little speck somewhere in this planet, but our solar system is a much larger being that our Earth lives within, and it looks like a little human fetus. And maybe, who knows, maybe it grows, maybe we're living inside a fetus, and that fetus grows into something else. Who knows? It gets really bizarre the further you go on here. But a master, the point here is always expanding in consciousness. And so are we. We're pretty much down here, those of us interested in this material. So we're going on with this. What happens in the system transpires likewise on cosmic levels. In this thought lies inspiration and development, and not despair or weariness. The reward that comes with each step forward, the delight that lies in increased comprehension, rewards the struggling aspirant in adequate fashion. Tomorrow we will deal with the more practical side, that of the man who aims at this high calling. So again, this is our Earth. This is where most of humanity is. This is where group 7 and 8 is, group 9 is, group 10 is here. And all of this is yet to be realized. Here is our Earth. Here is our solar system. There are planets in our solar system. And actually, they've taken an image of our solar system a satellite has, just like we have that image of our Earth. We have an image of the solar system. They call it the deflated croissant, but it looks, oddly enough, a little bit like a human fetus. So here we have this encouragement that as an aspirant, we're not talking about a master here now, we're talking about an aspirant, group 6 aspirant who's trying to become a probationer, because the rules for probationer disciples in group 7 are talked about for us to prepare for this long journey. We're told, whether we're group 6 aspirant, group 7 probationary disciple, group 8 disciple, group 9 initiate, we're told that we should not despair or become weary by this whole thing. We should feel inspired by it. We should look forward to it. We should delight in the increased comprehension we're going to have. Now, I have to tell you that when I started learning about this stuff back in my 20s, I wanted to rip my hair out of my head. And I remember arguing, like, who cares about this kind of stuff? Really? Well, obviously, you're not going to care that much about it. It's going to seem too overwhelming until you become a master, and then you care a lot, because that's where your consciousness is primarily occupied. But we're being encouraged that we can try and develop the right attitude towards this, that maybe this might be relevant to our lives at some point if we keep progressing along the way here. So on that note of encouragement, this series, which I've been working on literally just short of 10 years on the 10 evolutionary groups, is concluding with this video now. I'm going to move into a different phase. I'm going to move into teaching about these 10 evolutionary groups. I'm going to move into perhaps producing a very short, condensed, movie-like video, an hour and a half, 2 hours. You want to help me with all of this? Please become a patron. I have only a few. I do all of this. It takes a tremendous amount of time and energy and effort, and I really need your support. I invite you to support me. I'm not a rich person. I don't do it for money, but I do need to keep food, clothing, and shelter over my head. I don't usually mention that because I work a full-time job as well as do this. One day I'd like to not work a full-time job and be able just to do this, but I can't do that unless I have money. I don't have money coming from this particular type of work. I do it as a labor of love, but if you want to support me, please become a patron And most of all, thanks for watching.